Hello there, I'm Bianca Borges for Milk Street at Home. It's the time of the year where we start thinking about the holidays. And even though this year what we're thinking about are the things that are changing and the adjustments we'll have to make, there's no reason not to keep the tradition of making the day very special by making a special meal. And I hope that pie is part of your special meal. I'm here to talk a little bit about pie, mostly about the things you can actually do in advance of Thanksgiving Day that will make the whole pie preparation a lot easier and smoother. If you're making homemade pie dough, and I certainly hope you are, you can make this as early as 2 or 3 days in advance, and it's actually better for that. Pie dough, after it's made, needs to sit and rest, and it needs to do that before you actually roll it out. And then after you roll it out, it needs to rest a little bit more before it's baked as well. So by starting 2 or 3 days in advance, you can get the work done incrementally to make the day of baking very easy and fast, and your pie dough will be better for it. So 2 to 3 days in advance, make your pie dough, wrap it well, and then refrigerate it. And let it stay refrigerated at least a few hours, and maybe even overnight if you have time. Then, after it's rested for a few hours in the fridge or the next day, go ahead and roll it out. You need to flour your countertop, you're using a rolling pin, and you're rolling it out. And that's the only messy part about a pie dough, really, is the rolling it out. And if you get this done in advance, you don't have to think about it the day of Thanksgiving. So how do you store that rolled out pie dough? Well, you can store it on a round pizza pan if you have it. Say for a 9-inch pie pan, you're going to need approximately a 14-inch circle. So if you have a pizza pan, that's a great way to store it flat. But if you don't have that, or you don't have room in your fridge for that, what you can do is very simple. You roll up a piece of aluminum foil into a rope or a coil and roll it up at the end so that it has a nice smooth outer surface. Then place a piece of wax paper on top of your rolled out pie dough. Put the aluminum foil right in the center and then fold the pie dough over it. What this does is it helps prevent a crease happening or a crack in the dough from folding it in half. The aluminum foil simply makes a nice rounded edge. Put that on a sheet tray and wrap it in plastic, store it in the fridge. That's if you're making a 1-crust pie. If you're making a 2-crust pie, roll out the other crust. Do the same thing with it as with the aluminum foil, fold it in half, put it on the same sheet tray in the opposite direction, and store those two things together. That'll keep in the fridge a good 2 to 3 days in advance. Now, you can also roll out your pie dough and freeze it if you happen to have made it, like say, a week or more in advance. And then the day of, take it out of the freezer and let it come to room temperature before you use it. And that only takes maybe 20 minutes on the countertop, sometimes less, depending on how hot your kitchen is. So your dough's all made. Let's talk about fillings, because believe it or not, you can even make your fillings in advance. If you're making a fruit-based filling that requires cooking, do that up to 2 days in advance. I like to cook my apple filling, so I make a cooked apple filling with a little bit of sugar and butter and a pinch of cinnamon, cool that down, store it in an airtight container in the fridge, and then the day of, I'm ready to go. If you're making a custard-based filling, such as a pumpkin pie or a chess-style pie, you can make that up to 1 day in advance. Take pumpkin, for instance. Make it completely through, adding the dairy and the eggs and all your spices and the sugar. Whisk it until it's completely smooth. Put it in an airtight container and store it in the fridge. Next day, you're ready to go. Now, the beauty of doing this in advance for pie prep is that when you're ready to bake the pie, all you do is take the beautifully rolled out dough out of the fridge, line your pie plate with it, do your crimping in your edges. The dough is completely rested, ready to go. Then you've made your filling in advance, hopefully. You simply take the filling, fill the crust with it, put the top crust on if you're using it, or leave it open, get it in the oven and bake it. That's it, you're done. There's no mess, very little to clean up, and very beautifully rested pie dough. So I wish you a happy Thanksgiving. I hope you're making pie, but whatever you're making, I'm sure it will be delicious.